President, I do have 7 p.m. whenever you're ready.
Madam President, I have opened the public phone line as well.
Okay. It is now 7 o'clock p.m. and I will call the meeting to order. Can I please get a roll call? Can you hear me, Lori? Hello?
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. It is now 7 o'clock p.m. and I will call the meeting to order. Can I please get a roll call?
Vice President Anderson.
Here.
Councilor Blakely. Here. Councilor Forbeck.
Here.
Councilor Keys.
Here.
Councilor Levy. Councilor Preschel.
Here.
President Duncan.
Here.
I have 6 councilors confirmed. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilors, can you please mute your phones and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we will go to the special order of the day and announcements.
Item 3A is a proclamation declaring January 15th, 2021 as Andrew Yonke Day. And I do believe that City Manager Luther is prepared to read the proclamation tonight.
Yes.
No.
Yes, thank you. It is with great pride that I am going to read a proclamation for Andrew Yonke, and he is welcome to come to the podium as I read it or as I complete reading it. Whereas in 1987, the Downtown Beloit Association was created by a group of business people, property owners, and resident volunteers to revitalize Beloit's struggling downtown. And whereas Andrew Yonke graduated from Iowa State University and embarked on a career with the city of Beloit in 1987, becoming the first long-term downtown development director. And whereas, in partnership with the downtown businesses and under Andrew Yonke's guidance, in 1988, Beloit became one of the first 5 inaugural Main Street communities. And whereas, the ensuing years saw tremendous positive transformation of the downtown with building renovation, multiple activities including the popular farmers market, economic growth, and increased property values. And whereas Andrew learned to roll with the ups and downs of the Beloit economy, watching in the late 1990s as our economic landscape took a downturn, and then actively participating in Beloit's renaissance and economic upswing. And whereas Andrew was promoted to the City of Beloit Economic Development Director in 2001, and whereas during his career as Economic Development Director and Executive Director of the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation, the Greater Beloit area added over 4,500 jobs and has seen over $1.85 billion in private capital investment. And whereas, in addition to his many professional accomplishments impacting our community, Andrew and his wife raised a family and have warmly opened their home over the years to foreign exchange students, sharing the love of Beloit. And whereas Andrew also volunteers on multiple boards in a professional and personal capacity, contributing in making the greater Beloit community a better place to live, work, and play. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the city of Beloit, Wisconsin, recognizes the contributions that Andrew Yonke has made to the revitalization of downtown Beloit, development of the Gateway Business Park, and the partnerships and relationships he nurtured over these many years to bring economic development to the greater Beloit area. Therefore, be it further proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Beloit, Wisconsin does hereby proclaim Friday, January 15th, 2021 as Andrew Yonke Day in the City of Beloit, hereby recognizing him for his years of faithful service and extending him the very best wishes in all of his future endeavors. This is presented on behalf of Council President Duncan and the Beloit City Council. Having worked with Andrew only over not quite the past 6 years, he has just been such an amazing addition to this organization, and this community is better off for his service. We are glad that he, although retiring, is not planning to go far, and so he will continue to be part of this beautiful community. Andrew, if you are more than welcome to share a few words.
Well, thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. I'll have to confess, when I opened up the council packet last week and I saw this item on the agenda, I was just kind of blown away. So I do greatly appreciate it. I'm honored and humbled by this unexpected recognition. You heard me say it before in the past. You'll actually hear me say it again tonight, that economic development is a team sport. I have to thank this council and prior councils, my colleagues here at the City of Beloit, for all the support that they have given me over the years. We have made economic development a priority. We've set some lofty goals over the years, and we've accomplished a great deal by working together. And again, I appreciate the recognition. I was surprised by it. I'm humbled and honored, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And on behalf of the council, I would just like to say to you, thank you so much for your years of exemplary service to the City of Beloit. We are happy to celebrate your achievements and honor you with your very own day. We wish you all the best, Andrew. And we just hate we can't be there to share it with you, but we're here virtually, and we just are all so grateful to you. So thank you very much.
They're applauding virtually, Andrew.
Okay, item 4, public hearings. Item 4A is consideration of resolution 2020-198, approving exceptions to the Architectural Review and Landscape Code to allow insulated metal wall panels and a waiver of the open green space requirement for the new building to be located at 1870 Post Road.
At this time, our Community Development Director, Julie Christensen, will provide us with an overview.
Roger and Peggy Teeley have filed an application for this exception. They recently were approved for a planned unit development master land use plan, which authorized a 4,800 square foot office and shop building for Teeley Heating and Air Conditioning, which is a local company which has been in this community for a number of years. As part of that approval, condition number 6 considered this a non-industrial building, which meant that no more than 25% of the exterior surface of any wall may be metal unless an exception is granted. Sorry about the cough. They have proposed the use of architectural insulated metal panels, which are shown on the renderings and elevations included in the packet tonight. These are similar panels which have been used in other areas in the city, including Brighton's Quick Lube. They're also requesting an exception to the landscape code. 5 feet of open green space is required along the side and rear lot lines. They are showing a privacy fence along the western side lot line around the outdoor storage area and a paved driveway up to the rear southern lot line. Plan Commission did review this on December 9th and voted 5-1 to recommend approval. Included in the agenda packet are the findings of fact, which outlines the criteria that must be met in order for an exception to be granted. And staff and Plan Commission felt that those standards were met at this time. And Plan Commission did recommend approval, and it is on your agenda for action this evening.
Thank you, Julie.
Do either of you want to speak?
At this time, the public hearing is open. Would the clerk treasurer please provide any public input received?
I did not receive any public input for this item.
This is,
Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposed, please come forward at this time.
Madam President, the Tealeys are here in the room if there are any questions, but there is no other additional comments in the room.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution? Is there a motion?
Nancy Forbeck, I so move.
I so move to approve the resolution.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Forbeck and seconded by Councilor Blakely. And now I'll take questions and comments from councilors, beginning with Vice President Anderson. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I do not, Madam President.
Councilor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I just want to thank the Thieleys for coming to the meeting tonight to represent themselves. Thanks for being here.
Councilor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, just congratulations and thank you for growing with Beloit.
Councilor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I do not, thank you.
Councilor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion? Councilor
Right now, I just logged in, so Regina will just get me right now.
Okay. Councilor Prushel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I just would like to mention that the Plan Commission was discussed, and as I recall, Julie can confirm, this paneling, the siding is one of those things that was never envisioned when the ordinances were drafted. It's another one of those examples where the technology of building materials has moved past what our ordinances had ever conceived of. So that's just one of those little things you learn. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll at this time.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely.
Aye.
Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
I'm going to abstain from this one since I just logged
Okay.
in, Lori.
Sure. Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes 6 with 1 abstaining. Item 4B is consideration of Resolution 2020-199, approving a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through use for a portion of the property located at 3030 Ford Street.
Community Development Director Julie Christensen will provide us with an overview.
Kevin Vernick of MV Beloit LLC has filed this application. The applicant has an accepted offer to purchase 0.72 acres of the subject property for the development of a Popeyes restaurant with a double drive-through. This is a lot that was created right next to that new hotel, the Holiday Inn, that was built along the interstate. A certified survey map was taken to Plan Commission to divide one of the lots to allow some part of it to be Popeyes and the rest should just be available for future development. So the property is vacant right now, and so this would be another new restaurant out on Milwaukee Road. The driveway there is a private drive that runs in front of these lots, which was constructed to street standards to provide access to several buildable lots, because at this time it doesn't make sense to extend that through. Attached to the site, to the agenda packet is the proposed site plan, which shows the single access driveway, a 9-foot stacking lane, 20-foot traveler bypass lane, and angled parking stalls, which is what code requires for all drive-through uses. The vehicular traffic will move counterclockwise through the site, and a sidewalk and pedestrian pathway will be provided down to that private road to provide walkability to and from the public sidewalk. Plan Commission did review this on November 9th and voted unanimously to recommend approval, subject to 2 ordinance requirements. There are no conditions of approval, and it's also subject to the conditional use decision form that was included in your packet, which outlines the 2 ordinance requirements that are part of the resolution before you tonight. This is on your agenda for action tonight.
Thank you, Julie. At this time, the public hearing is open. Would the clerk treasurer please provide any public input received?
I did not receive any public input for this item.
Thank you. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward. Final call. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward at this time.
Madam President, there is no one in the room for this item.
The public hearing is now closed. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution?
And before that time, I am delighted to say yes, move yes for a Popeyes in Beloit.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Forbeck. Is there a second?
Vice President Anderson will second.
Seconded by Vice President Anderson. Now we'll have discussion from councilors, beginning with Vice President Anderson. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I share Nancy's excitement, though.
Councilor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I don't.
Councilor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, just delighted, yes.
Councilor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I do not, thank you.
Councilor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I do not.
Councilor Prushel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I will only say that I must be the only person in this virtual room who has no idea what a Popeyes is, besides a cartoon character that's not well remembered and I didn't really like as a child. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely. Councilor Blakely?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilor Forbeck?
Aye.
Councilor Keys?
Aye.
Councilor Levy?
Aye.
Councilor Preschel?
Aye.
President Duncan?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. The third public hearing this evening is consideration of Resolution 2020-200, approving a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through lane and overhead doors facing Milwaukee Road for the property located at 2901 Milwaukee Road.
Community Development Director Julie Christensen will provide us with another overview.
M&W Development has applied for this conditional use permit. They purchased the property between McDonald's and Phantom Fireworks, and they've divided it into 2 lots. And you may notice that there's a building under construction now, which is a Verizon store. And so the remaining land, they're proposing to build a quick loop facility, which, as you can imagine, would have a drive-through lane, which requires a conditional use permit, and then overhead doors facing Milwaukee Road, and the Milwaukee Road Overlay District also requires a conditional use permit. So both of those uses require the conditional use. They have submitted the application and site plan, which were included in your packet. It's a pretty straightforward application, and they've also submitted colored renderings, so you can see what the building is going to look like. Plan Commission did review this at their last meeting and voted unanimously 6-0 to recommend approval, subject to a couple conditions and some ordinance requirements. So they are recommending approval, subject to that this approval authorizes the construction of a quick loop facility with drive-through lanes in a C3 Community Commercial District and overhead doors facing Milwaukee Road for the property located at 2901 Milwaukee Road, as shown on the site plan submitted with the application. And just our standard condition about major changes coming back through this public process and minor changes being approved administratively. And then it's further resolved that the applicant is formally advised of the following additional ordinance requirements, which is that the applicant shall allocate 4 parking stalls per service bay, that the architectural and site design of the project must adhere to the Milwaukee Road Overlay District, and before constructing on-site, the applicant shall obtain an architectural review certificate and a building permit as required by code. And also included in your packet is the conditional use decision form that identifies the evidence that was used for the conditions and the ordinance requirements. And this is on your agenda for action tonight. And in your packet, are the materials which show what the development will look like once it is constructed.
Thank you, Julie. At this time, the public hearing is open. Would the clerk treasurer please provide any public input received?
I did not receive any public input on this item.
Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposed, please come forward?
Madam
Final
President,
comment.
Madam President, there isn't anybody in the room here that would like to speak on the item.
Okay, the public hearing then is now closed. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution? Can I have a
Nancy
motion?
Corbett, so move.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilor Forbeck. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Councilor Preschel. Now, we'll have questions and discussion, beginning with Vice President Anderson. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I do not, Madam President.
Councilor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Councilor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I do not, thank you.
Councilor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No question.
Councilor Preschel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, this was well covered at the Plan Commission meeting, and familiarity with the Milwaukee Road Overlay District would be, I would suggest all the councilors review that document. I don't recall how old it is anymore, but it's been quite a while, and it was it's perhaps getting a bit dated.
Thank you. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely.
Aye.
Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. We are at public comment.
We have reached the point on the agenda for citizens to speak to the council about issues that are coming before us or may come before us in the future. Council members may not act on any requests at this meeting, but may refer speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from personal attacks of any kind. Public comment is a courtesy, and we expect everyone to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Speakers are asked to complete a public comment form or submit an email prior to the meeting. Madam Clerk, were there any public comments submitted prior to the meeting?
We did not receive any written comment.
Are there any members of the public that would like to address the council this evening?
Madam President, there are no members of the public in the room.
Okay, so at this point, the public comment is now closed.
Item 6 is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Thank you. Would any counselor like anything removed from the consent? Just a moment. I'll just check in before I do this. Did you have an announcement to make, City Manager Luther, or should I just proceed?
She's indicating that you can just proceed, Madam President.
Okay. Would any counselor like anything removed from the consent agenda? Can I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda, including items 6A through 6F?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilor Pressel, is there a second?
Blakely seconds.
Second by Councilor Blakely. At this time, there's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions or discussion? I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely.
Aye.
Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys. Councilor Keys.
Sorry, aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes unanimously. There are no licenses this evening, so item 8 is ordinances. Item 8A is consideration of ordinance number 3693 to amend section 3.16 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to receipt and disbursement of funds from tribal casino. This is first reading.
At this time, our Finance and Administrative Services Director, Eric Miller, will provide us with an overview.
Eric, please make sure you talk into the mic when you get there really close so they can hear you.
Good evening. Ordinance 3.16 was adopted by Council in 2002. This ordinance was created to govern the receipt and disbursement of funds specifically related to potential casino revenue pursuant to an internal or intergovernmental agreement. However, the IGA this ordinance was based on no longer exists, as this was the original IGA that the city entered into with the previous tribe. The ordinance is also unnecessarily redundant due to other language throughout Section 3 of the Code of General Ordinances. This language already grants the City Council the authority to make changes or additions to the City Manager's proposed budget, adopt a budget, and allow for disbursement of city funds for only such purposes and such amounts as provided in the adopted budget. Therefore, at this time, we are requesting that Ordinance 3.16 be repealed due to its purpose being obsolete and redundant. This is on the agenda for first reading, and I'd be happy to take any questions or comments.
Okay, first we'll take the motions. This is the first reading. Can I please have a motion to hold over the ordinance? Is there a motion?
Councilor Keys, so move.
I think the motion was made, was it Councilor Pressel and seconded by Councilor Keys?
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, there's a motion and a second to hold over the ordinance. Is there any discussion? Before I do that, I just have a comment. The repealing of the ordinance was a chance to revise an outdated order. However, the council will maintain its full budget authority. Any shared revenues received from a future casino will continue to fall under that rule. This will in no way impact the proposed Whole Chunk Nation Resort and Casino project. So I just wanted to add that comment. Are there any other councilors that may have a comment? I'll start with Vice President Anderson.
No questions. Once again, Eric Miller did a great job, and Regina, your comment also fulfilled everything, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Blakely.
No, thank you very much.
Councilor Forbeck.
Well,
Councilor.
no, I do have a comment. I appreciate the city's continued not only attempts but process to update our, all the things, the contracts and the ordinances and sections of things that need to be updated. This is a continuing process that I have been able to witness in my last years of being on the council, and I just want to say to staff that I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor Keys.
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Levy.
No questions.
Councilor Preschel.
I too want to say how happy I am that you found this language and this under updating it, and Eric's explanations were spot on and covered everything that needed to be covered. And it was a strange time 20 years ago when this all went in, and it's good to see us bring it into the fold, so we handle it just like we handle everything else instead of all these odd things. So I appreciate it. We're on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors, for the discussion. At this time, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely. Aye. Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item 8B is consideration of ordinance number 3682 to create sections 31.213 and 31.215 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to geographical restrictions for Class A intoxicating liquor and fermented malt beverage licenses. This is first reading.
Thank you. City Attorney Elizabeth Kruger will now provide us with an overview.
Thank you. As the councilors know, both the City Council and the Alcohol Beverage License Control Committee has had some joint workshops over the last couple of years with regard to the quantity and the density of off-premise retail sales of alcoholic beverages. Concerns were raised during those workshops regarding licenses for off-premise sales and the effect that has on unsupervised underage youth and possibly binge drinking. The attached draft ordinance is a culmination of those discussions and includes the proposed legislative changes desired in Chapter 31 to better regulate that retail sale of off-premise alcoholic beverages. The key issues are Class A establishments will have a buffer zone of 1,050 feet or approximately 0.2 miles with limited exceptions. The exceptions include Class A license holders, transfer of license within the buffer zone, transfers of ownership provided no adverse license action has occurred, and certain license conditions may be transferred. An applicant may also petition to exceed the geographic restrictions as provided in the draft ordinance, and a supermajority or 2/3 of the council members present must vote to exceed those restrictions. In addition, a public hearing must also be held. And also, if the councilors remember, back in August, you put a moratorium on this matter, and that will expire after adoption and passage of the ordinance. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. This is a first reading, so can I please have a motion to hold over the ordinance?
So moved, Councilor Keys.
Moved by Councilor Keys. Is there a second?
Second by Levy.
Second by Councilor Levy. At this time, there's a motion and a second to hold over the ordinance. Is there any discussion? I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely. Aye. Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes. That is laid over unanimously. Item 9 is appointments. The individual's name about to be named have been nominated for a seat on a city board, committee, or commission. Each nomination is subject to confirmation by the City Council. Approval of appointments will be accomplished by one motion unless a City Council member requests to take up a nomination separately, in which event the nomination will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda. This evening, we do have several appointments to the Appointment Review Committee. We have incumbent Daniel Borowski to a term ending December 31st, 2023. To the Board of Ethics, incumbent Louise Austin to a term ending December 31st, 2023. To the Community Development Authority, incumbent Philip Gorman to a term ending December 31st, 2024. And to the Municipal Golf Committee, James Cronin, replacing Harry Wiersgala to a term ending December 31, 2023, and Sarah Ramsden replacing Olivia Cronin to a term ending December 31st, 2021.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion to approve the appointments?
I so move to approve the appointments. Councilor Blakely.
Moved by Councilor Blakely, and I believe it was seconded by Vice President Anderson. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion? If not, there's a motion and a second to approve the appointments. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Vice President Anderson. Vice President Anderson? I see your button turning green, but I can't hear you. Councilor Blakely.
Are you asking for comments or are we taking the vote at this
We're
point?
taking
Comments?
the vote
Oh, okay.
for the appointments.
Yes. Thank you to all the citizens who volunteered, and I say an enthusiastic and grateful aye.
Okay. Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
Okay, and we can circle back with Vice President Anderson. I believe he's rebooting here. So that takes us to item 10, councilor activities and upcoming events.
I believe that Vice President Anderson is having some technical difficulties, so we'll go back to him, but we'll start off with Councilor Blakely tonight.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to let everybody know that Beloit Public Library, I serve on the Municipal Library Board, is open this week, except for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And on New Year's Eve, Thursday, December 31st, excuse me, it will be closing early at 5:30. Also, there's an exciting plan in the works to add a window, a drive-up window, and we've gone forward with that, and it should be open for business in early January. And I want to wish everybody a very happy holiday and a peaceful one. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Forbeck.
Yes, well, my comments, I guess, are just a reminder to everybody that I realize that now is the winter of our discontent. I think it's important for all Beloit citizens to know that for years now, the City Council, of which I've been a member now for 3 years, we have put as our number one goal safety. And that was the case before we ever even knew there was going to be COVID-19. So I just want to say that I want to assure our citizens that we are following a procedure and a plan, and we do give direction that we want to be able to make Beloit as safe as possible. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Councilor Keys.
I wanted for my Thank you, President Duncan. For my comment, I want to extend just sincere appreciation to the city staff of Beloit and the countless hours that I know that you have put in, as well as to the residents of Beloit making sacrifices and working to help just keep everyone safe during this very, very challenging year, and just continue to echo Councilor Forbeck and saying, we appreciate you continuing the efforts, and please have just a safe and happy holiday. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Levy,
No comments.
Councilor Prushel,
I have no comments tonight.
Vice President Anderson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm back. Just echo everything that everybody else has said. I just want to thank all the residents who are contacting us. I know that your voice is being heard. We're hearing you. The last thing is I just want everybody to be safe over the holiday. I've been very pleased with the trend downward of COVID cases. We're still not where we need to be, but we did not see a spike over Thanksgiving, and that is a very good sign. Let's keep doing what we're doing. Let's wear masks, let's socially distance, and let's try to get back to normal. We all got to do our part. It's not easy, it's not fun, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're going to get there soon. That's all my comments.
Thank you. And now I'll give my comments. I want to begin by thanking our City of Beloit Police, Fire, and EMS for joining in a special tribute last week for the Beloit Health System heroes. We owe you all a great deal of gratitude for your service and commitment. Please know that we understand the sacrifices that you're making and appreciate what you do each day. And to everyone on the front line, including the essential workers, agency providers, and our City of Beloit staff who continue to provide outstanding public service, it's because of your efforts that we will get through this. Additionally, I want to thank Madison 365 for including Gina Stevens and I on the list of Wisconsin's most influential Black leaders. It's humbling to share this special recognition with Gina, and I look forward to seeing others from Beloit being recognized in the future. I also want to mention that I am saddened about the passing of Supreme Court Justice Shirley Abrahamson. She was the first woman to serve on our highest court and the longest serving member on the bench for nearly 43 years. She will be remembered as a strong, independent voice who left a unique legacy, and I'm so honored that I had the chance to meet her. Now for my counselor activities. I attended the Gateway Business Park Association Review Board meeting and Appointment Review Committee meeting. We are looking for talented individuals to serve on some of our committees. For more information about volunteering, please go to the City of Beloit website or call Pam Laker at 608-364-6614. Also, I had the opportunity to participate in a Zoom winter read for Gaston Elementary School on Friday. I dressed up for the holiday and read to students ranging from 1st to 3rd grade. So I want to take a moment and give a special shout out to the Gaston Elementary School Winter Read Committee, students, teachers, and parents for their hard work with this endeavor. We are really fortunate to have so many great teachers and staff in our school district of Beloit. Next, I want to inform the public that there is free COVID testing at Black Hawk Technical College. Tests are available on Wednesday and Thursday from 11 a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m., which has been extended to March 10th of 2021. You can register on site or online. It's really easy. For more information, go to our City of Beloit Facebook page. In closing tonight, please know that our council truly understands the turmoil that this pandemic has caused, not only in Beloit, but across our nation. However, we cannot allow it to divide us. We must continue to work together to slow the spread of this terrible virus and find common ground in doing what's best for our entire city. This is certainly an unprecedented year. Things are constantly changing, but we must remember what's most important, and that's our lives children, and families. This is a time when we must focus on self-care and check in on our friends and neighbors. As your council president, I am hopeful that we can weather this storm and anticipate a brighter future. But we can only accomplish this by joining together as one. Uniting, we can choose to spread more understanding, empathy, and love throughout our community. That said, I encourage everyone to count your blessings and take time to drive around town and look at all the beautiful light and decorations. I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This ends my report for this evening. Next, we'll go to item 12.
Item 11 is the city manager's presentation, and I believe city manager has a brief report this evening.
Thank you for that clarification, Clerk Starling. So we'll go with 11, City Manager Luther.
Thank you very much. I too want to wish everyone a very happy holiday and just take a moment to share some updates in regard to our COVID-19 response. The safety of our staff and of the public at large will continue to be our highest priority. This is an understandably difficult and at times controversial responsibility. And I think it's important for the public to know that in addition to my role as city manager, I am first and foremost a mother. My husband and I have 4 children who are currently in Beloit in the elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. We are intimately aware of the impact COVID-19 has had on children and families. We have made personal, difficult decisions about our own children's activities and potential exposures. And every family in Beloit has sacrificed while trying to keep our community safe. And I certainly look forward to a day when we can all safely gather again and resume some of the activities we love. We are all weary of this disease, but now is not the time to increase our risk. The updated data on the Rock County dashboard today indicates that test positivity rates are still in the red zone at a rate of 30% over the past 14 days. Hospital resources are at or near capacity, and fewer than 50% of contacts are being initiated with positive patients within a 48-hour period. Now, we also know that a vaccine will be in Beloit soon, and first our medical professionals and first responders, and soon thereafter the general public will have access to vaccine. So we implore you to continue to stay safe and wish you a very happy new year. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, City Manager Luther. Item 12 is reports from boards and city officers. 12A is consideration of Resolution 2020-211, approving an intergovernmental agreement between Rock County and the City of Beloit regarding technical service for water quality trading.
Next, our Director of Water Resources, Bill Frisbee, will provide a report.
The City of Beloit wastewater treatment plant has a Wisconsin discharge elimination system permit regulated by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. As part of that permit, the limits of the Rock River total maximum daily load, which regulates total suspended solid and total phosphorus discharges from our treatment plant, are included in the permit. We have some new limits coming into place, and we won't have any issues with total suspended solids, but 2 months out of the year, there's potential of violating the new permit limits for total phosphorus. We were faced with coming up with solutions, and we evaluated upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant that would take about $7.5 million over 10 years to comply. And so we talked with Rock County Land Conservation on a program called Water Quality Trading. in which we'll implement practices on agricultural land in the Rock River watershed, mostly all very local. And that program, after some preliminary evaluation, we can do our phosphorus compliance for $590,000 for a 10-year period. So big savings compared to upgrades at the treatment plant. Rock County Land Conservation is very familiar with the watershed. They've got a lot of contacts with the local agricultural community, and they have staff that's familiar with doing all of the design and modeling for these types of practices. So we're proposing that we partner with Rock County Land Conservation to provide technical services for design and inspection to install practices on agricultural land in the community. And in exchange for their services, we will pay the county a service fee equal to 15% of the practices that are installed. Each one of the practices would have individual agreements between the city of Beloit and the landowner, and each of those agreements would come back to the city council for approval. And we'll take any questions.
Thank you. First, can I please have a motion to approve thank you, Bill. First, I would like to have a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a motion?
Councilor Keys, so move.
Moved by Councilor Forbeck, seconded by Councilor Keys. Now we'll take questions and discussion. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I do not, Madam President.
Councilor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Councilor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Well, I guess my question is, have there been other times, Bill, where the city of Beloit has worked one-on-one with our farmers, or is this a very new practice?
This will be a new practice for us. Anytime working with just the local agricultural community has just been just giving advice on erosion type issues on property that's within the city.
Sure. Well, I just send kudos to you. This, like everything else we know in this world, to get something done, it takes a village. So I applaud this effort. Thank you very much.
Councilor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I do have a question. Bill, you mentioned that we were in compliance except for 2 months, forecasted to be in compliance except for 2 months. Which 2 months of the year were they, and was that associated with the agricultural runoff then?
Nope. So we've had trouble meeting what would be our proposed permit limits in September and October every year. And our wastewater treatment plant is removing phosphorus biologically, and there's just something that goes on during those 2 months. And most treatment plants that it's called BIOP, so it's biological phosphorus removal, have a couple months where something just happens and the bugs aren't acting the same for phosphorus removal. And so we were looking for an alternative, and during those months, it's not necessarily that there's more agricultural phosphorus runoff. When we're doing water quality trading, we can take the aggregate amount of reduction on the agricultural land and apply it to whatever month we need it for our permit limit.
Okay, excellent. So this sounds like this investment will help decrease the water, the phosphorus and water pollution almost year round with these efforts, and then it helps us meet and be compliant through those 2 months that are more challenging.
Correct. And the reduction is going to happen upstream of the city of Beloit rather than at our wastewater discharge point, which is right at the state line. So all of the benefits of the phosphorus removal will be upstream of the city, so the water quality will be better as it's coming to us, not just leaving us.
This is excellent, and I too applaud you for looking at these solutions somewhat, more outside the box. And I have no further questions. Thank you.
Councilor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I do not.
Councilor Preschel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Well, I just thanks to Nancy and Brittany for asking those questions. That covered most of what I was wondering. And I was just wondering, does the planned upgrades in the next 5 years address some of the shortcomings in your processing or your biologicals now? Or is that just going to increase capacity or something like that? So that was the only other question.
The upgrades at the plant that are planned won't have an effect on the phosphorus. There's not a good solution that's kind of known at this point, because BioP is a newer kind of method of phosphorus removal. And so we're looking into some things where maybe it's just that we have to figure out, is it that our BOD loading at a certain point in the treatment plant is dropping during that month? It could be temperature based. And so I'm doing a lot of research on ways of trying to improve the BioP process year round.
Oh, I see.
So it would be more process change rather than infrastructure change.
Gotcha. So this is why it's so vital to do it upstream before it becomes a problem at our end. So that explains it. I was just curious about that. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Preschel. And I just wanted to add that I noticed from our staff report that this will help us to meet goals 1, 2, 4, and 5 with our strategic plan, and will help with sustainability. So I just want to say a big thanks to Bill and the staff for all their hard work. Job well done. At this time, there's a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Can I please ask the clerk to call the roll?
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely.
Aye.
Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item 12B is the Economic Development Director's report to the City Council.
Economic Development Director Andrew Yankee will now provide us with his annual report. Andrew.
Thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
And can you see my presentation on your screen?
Yes, we can.
Very well. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. As always, this time of year, I give my annual report. As this is also my last report to council, I've decided to spice things up a little bit and add a little bit of history to this presentation. Roughly half of the presentation here tonight will be a little bit of history with my working with the City of Beloit, DBA, and the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation. The second half of the report will be based on the activity from this current year in 2020. And then I'll wrap things up with just a couple of comments. I did want to start out, though, recognizing and thanking Mindy Kuntz, my administrative assistant, who really put a lot of time and effort in helping me put this deck together. I wanted to thank Shauna El-Amin and the folks over at the DBA. They contributed some of these images for this slideshow as well. And Jeff Adams, I borrowed some of his images to include in this presentation as well. And if you notice on this opening slide, there's 3 logos here. And of course, the center logo is the logo for the City of Beloit. I started fresh out of college in 1987 working with the City of Beloit. And the city has been my continuous employer for the last 30 plus years. And during that time, I've had 2 assignments. Of course, the first one was with the Downtown Beloit Association. And the second one, my current assignment, is with the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation. But this image and this slide that I'm showing you here goes back to 1985. At that point in time, I was a student in college. I was also in Naval ROTC, and I was facing a career path decision at this point in my life. I had a choice between pursuing a career in the Navy as a naval officer, maybe someday commanding a nuclear submarine, or I chose to do something a lot cooler and what I think in the long run was a more meaningful approach to my life. Of course, I started in 1987 as program manager for the Downtown Beloit Association. Here's a picture from 1988 when the Beloit delegation went up to Madison to accept our designation as a Main Street community. We were one of the first 5 communities so designated. It's an old photograph. You can see me there standing in the background. I look a lot younger. I certainly had a lot more hair back then. And some other faces in this image you might recognize are still around and with us today. Of course, Judy Robeson, Governor Thompson, Rod Godfredson, and the gentleman who's standing in front of me, his name is Neil Hurst. He was our community development director back in the 80s, and he actually was the person who hired me back then. So being the director of the DBA was always an interesting experience. In the daytime, you might be going to meetings or meeting with local businesses. And on the weekend, you might find yourself at the farmer's market milking a cow. Of course, the DBA annual events, our annual awards events, were always epic. Here was one of the last skits that I actually was involved with. This is a skit where we were the 3 amigos. You can see my long-standing promotions coordinator, Dave Knutson's in this photo. And at that time, the current executive director for the DBA, Tom Clippert. But it wasn't all fun and games. As you can see from this slide, there's a chart at the top that talks about basically the data that we've collected over the years as being a Main Street community. And if you compare that data to our 34 peer communities, we rank first, second, third, and no higher than 5th in all of these categories. So a lot of economic activity has occurred downtown since we started our serious revitalization efforts back in 1987. Also in 2011, under the guidance of the former Economic Development Director, Kathleen Bratz, we were designated as a Great American Main Street Award recipient, which I think was a significant accomplishment. But one of the things I enjoyed, I think, most in working with the DBA is working with all the small businesses. We're very fortunate to have a solid collection of businesses that have been with us for a very long time, including businesses like Stanton Shoes that have been with us for 113 years. Some of the key projects that I was able to be involved with the DBA, and this is just a short listing of some of those. The first project I was involved with was Chester Square. This was a whole block that was boarded up and vacant and flooded for at least a decade. This is also a significant project to me. Through this project, I met my wife Maggie. The Hotel Hilton, or 444 East Grand, was our first community-initiated development project, meaning we actually purchased this building. We prepared it for development. We cleared it out. We cleaned it up. We developed an RFP and ultimately was able to attract a developer who completely renovated this building. Our second community-initiated development project was the Woolworths building. Again, we purchased this building, converted it into a gray box, and ultimately were able to attract a tenant and ultimately a buyer, Bushel and Pex, and this is, of course, the tenant and owner that is currently on site here. The Beloit Inn project was a milestone project. This is what it looked like before the building was built. Of course, it's been rebranded today. It's now the Beloit Ironworks Hotel. And I can't really talk about downtown development without putting into context the Beloit Fine Arts Incubator project, now again been rebranded to the Beloit Arts Center. This is a project that the city of Beloit, the community, and the GBDC has supported for about 20 years now. And just last week, we accomplished a major milestone here in that we had a document closing to convey this property from the GBEDC to the Beloit Arts Center. We'll do a wire transfer next week, and it will be officially owned by the Beloit Arts Center. So I think a major win-win for all across the board here. And then here's a list of just a few other notable projects that we've all worked on together. The list is actually longer than this short list. I'm not going to read all of these. A lot of these were funded through Tax Incremental Finance District number 5, but a lot of public and private investment in projects have occurred over the last 30 plus years. Several promotional events that I'd like to just mention. Again, I can't take credit for these, and certainly DBA executive directors and volunteers and the promotion committee have just taken all of these events to a higher and better value, but I had a small part in creating some of these, like the Grand Avenue Lighted Parade, Fridays in the Park, the Halloween Parade, street dance, and of course our community's signature event, the Beloit Farmers Market. We also had to be creative in the early days in how to balance our budget. This was an event that we did, we called it the Pepsi Float. And all those cans that you see in that canoe that I'm leaning against are empty Pepsi cans. And on the bottom of each of those cans is a number. And those numbers correspond with a raffle ticket. And Maggie is in the background there. She's selling those raffle tickets. So we took all of these cans, or several thousands of them, and we dumped them into the lagoon at Riverside Park. And then we dangled then Chief Reesberg from the hook and ladder, blindfolded, and we dunked him into the lagoon. He plucked one of these cans, and that number on that can corresponded with the individual who won a 1975 Cadillac Eldorado. So we had to be creative back then to balance budgets. I don't think you'd ever see us do anything quite this radical currently today. Moving on to my current assignment with the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation. I started that in 2001. Of course, we like to celebrate all the ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings, and there's been a long history of those for us, fortunately. But it takes a lot of hard work and background efforts. There's been numerous strategic plans that have been put together. This is one that I think took place back in 2008. I've been involved in strategic planning with the GBDC, DBA, City of Beloit, and many of the other Beloit partners as well. It's this kind of work that sets the stage that has allowed us to have the success that we've had thus far. Some of the companies that we've been involved with, just a couple slides here that shows a series of logos. In all, I think we did a current census that there have been over 211 major projects that we've helped either site here in Beloit, have assisted in expansions, and some of these companies actually have had numerous expansions over the years. So a lot of significant economic development projects. Also wanted to touch upon, my background, educational background is in city planning, and we've been fortunate to be involved with a lot of planning efforts here in the city of Beloit, which again, I think has led to and contributed to a lot of the development that we've been able to enjoy. I can't again take credit for the initial riverfront plan that took place right about the time that I started in 1987, but this was the first plan that kind of put us on course to continue to do planning and to see some of the success that we've seen since then. There have been numerous design charrettes that we've participated in. This has been the kind of activity that I really particularly enjoyed being a part of. And it's through these planning processes that we actually ultimately see the results of our efforts. And just to give you an idea, this is how things looked back in 1987. This was a common site in Beloit, and the landscape and the overall image of the community has changed dramatically. The other project that we've been involved with for the last 20 years or so, of course, is the Gateway Business Park. This chart shows I think it's 13 companies that we've helped to be attracted to the Gateway Business Park. Several of these companies are on their second or third expansion. We've created, almost 2,800 jobs out here so far, and that's only counting the first 800 jobs that Amazon has created. They're on schedule to create up to 1,200. And again, the financial investment is rather significant here. And to kind of put that all into perspective, if we look at what the base value of the park was when we started back in 2000, it was just over $1.7 million. And that has grown to over $178 million. That doesn't even include the full assessed value of Amazon, nor does it take into account some of the projects that we currently have in our pipeline. So just remarkable growth in incremental value over time here. Showing you this particular map, which we had back in 2014. This is the land that we had available back in 2014. Compare that to 2020, what we currently have and what we've sold. If we put these up against one another, you can see the dramatic shift of land that was available in 2014 as compared to what we have available in 2020. We've sold a significant amount of property in the last several years, which of course is a good thing, but it also creates a challenge for us in that we are starting to run out of inventory. Thus, going back to the need for continuing future planning here, this is a document that GBDC worked on to put together a master plan of how we might think about how this park might grow and expand in the future. And I hope the city and the GBEDC continue to partner to look at ways how we could potentially keep the momentum going to have this park continue to grow and expand. Take a quick sip of water here. In transition to our current projects for the year, of course, the big one has been Amazon. This is over $105 million in investment. I mentioned that they've created 800 new jobs. They eventually will probably have over 2,000 people working here. They opened in August. And this project, from start to finish, from the initial call that we received to when they got an occupancy permit, took about 10 months. A remarkably fast-paced project. At 720 Gateway Boulevard, Hendricks Commercial Properties is in the process of buying a 40-acre lot from the GBEDC. We actually had our document closing last week. The wire transfer will take place next week, and they will be the owners of these 40 acres. They're proposing to do 2 spec buildings on this site. The first one will be 208,000 square feet. They have final building plans completed. They're going to be ordering their precast components this month, and they're going to start construction in the spring. It'll take about 6 months to finish this first building. Once they get a tenant or tenants in there, they'll start construction on the second building. North Star Medical Isotopes, they're on phase expansion number 3. They're adding 34,000 plus square foot to their existing building. This actual building will house their 2 accelerator machines. These linear accelerators will be the machines that will actually produce the medical radioisotopes on site. When they get this thing up and fully operational, they should have about 220 people working here. And the current investment on this project is about $40 million. In the I-90 Industrial Park, Lyons Magnus North, they're in the process of completing a doubling of the size of this particular building. They're adding 67,000 square feet. It's about a $70 million project. And as I mentioned, they're getting very close to getting an occupancy permit for this particular project. A spin-off project that resulted from this particular addition is they purchased the former Allied Games building. Fortunately, Allied Games had a vacant lot that they owned across the street, so they built a brand new headquarters building to accommodate their needs. They're fully operational at this location. It's about an 18,000 square foot building, and their investment was about $2.5 million. Frito-Lay has a series of expansions going on. They completed some work on their dewatering facility for their pretreatment plant in October. They're still working on a bio upgrade for that plant, which they hope to complete by June. They're working on a 5,000 square foot warehouse expansion. These 3 projects add up to just under $8 million in investment. The ABC Supply expansion project, a brand new 4-story building, 132,000 square feet. Over $30 million in investment. When it's fully occupied, this building will accommodate up to 600 workers. We believe the construction is nearly complete, and we expect an occupancy permit to be provided any day here for this particular project. A few redevelopment projects to talk about. The Vision Beloit project at 650 256 Pleasant Street, the former Angel Museum. This project is underway for phase one, which will involve the offices being located in the basement and a new event space on the ground floor. That should be completed in the next several months here. Phase two will be the actual office suite expansion. That will probably take place in 2022. That will be just under 8,000 square feet, and combined, the two projects are just over $2.1 million in investment. Downtown, the Wright and Wagner Lofts at 200 West Grand, the first building is under construction. There will be 3 buildings built on site here. Each will be about $58 million in investment. I beg your pardon, 58,000 square feet, $15 million in investment, and each will have 54 units. The first building is scheduled to be completed in spring, summer of 2021, and then buildings 2 and 3 will follow 1 year after the first building. After several years, the powerhouse is now completely finished. This is a 150,000 square foot renovation, $38 million investment. The pedestrian bridge, of course, was completed here in November. The field house was opened up a few months ago, and this project is complete and finished. The ABC Supply Stadium project is coming out of the ground. Former River Bend site at 7-acre site that was used to be owned by the city of Beloit. The stadium itself will have a seating capacity of 5,000. It's a $34 million project, well under construction. They're hoping to have their opening day here on June of 2021. And then just want to do a shout out to HH Photography. We hired them about a year ago to kind of photo document the Amazon project. Because of the sheer scale and size of that project, the only way you could kind of document with photographs is to use a drone. We've continued to engage with them to do other photography, and here's kind of a pretty spectacular shot of aerial drone footage of the new stadium project. A couple of residential development projects to talk about. The Oaks 2, brand new single family for professional level housing. The infrastructure is in place here. We supported that through a $25,000 discretionary grant through the GBEDC. The first home site has been sold. We understand several more are pending, and we expect the first house to be under construction in the spring. Out in the Gateway Business Park, housing development continues out there as well. This year, plats 4 and 5 were approved. So that's going to add 51 lots to that particular subdivision. The infrastructure work is underway. I was out there a couple weeks ago, and it's actually getting close to being complete. And then also in Gateway, a multifamily project, Hawks Ridge, is coming to a close here. Building number 8, which will be 75 units, is very near completion. We expect that occupancy permit to be issued here within the next couple weeks. Building number 9, again, 75 units, that's under construction, and each of these buildings will have an assessed value of over $11 million each. Commercial retail activity, actually this was talked about earlier on your agenda. 2901 Milwaukee Road, Verizon Wireless has their new building coming out of the ground. Jiffy Lube, you approved that conditional use permit tonight. And Popeyes, you approved a permit for that tonight, and that's going to be under construction here probably next year. Some major infrastructure projects just to talk about. Of course, the big one we've been tracking for years is the expansion of the interstate. It's well underway. It's ahead of schedule, we understand. You'll see work continuing through the winter here, and it will be all completed hopefully by the fall of 2021. A couple months ago, I got a tour by Mayor Rail of the new wastewater treatment plant in South Beloit. This is a $34.7 million project. It is nearly complete, and they hope to be fully operational by February of next year. For public infrastructure, notable projects, of course, Lincoln Academy under construction. This is a $25 million project, 111,000 square feet, and it should be opening up here for students in the fall. In the town of Beloit, the Garden Prairie Intermediate School is under construction. This is an $18 million project, about 95,000 square feet, and it will hold grades 2 through 5. Just a few economic indicators to kind of wrap things up here. I always show you this slide. This is our unemployment numbers for the city of Beloit. We had kind of historic record lows back in October of 2019. You can see the pandemic spike here in April, spiked up to 17.2%. It's back down a bit here in October of 2020 at 6.3%. But if you compare it to some of our peer communities, if you can, on the very far right side of this slide, historically we've always been ranked first or second. We've always kind of traded places with Racine. But as you can see, there currently are 4 communities in the state of Wisconsin that have a higher unemployment rate than the city of Beloit, despite the fact that we're going through a major transition due to the pandemic. And I think that's a tribute to the fact that we've done a pretty good job in diversifying our economy over the years, and it's certainly a trend that we hope continues to continue, where our ranking continues to fall against our peers. For building permit activity, of course, 2019 was a record year for us for permits issued and for the total value of those projects. However, 2020 was a pretty significant year as well. This particular chart just kind of shows you the economic activity that we're tracking for our current period, as well as the data that we've collected since we started this back in 1999. I'm not going to go through and read all these numbers. You can see for yourself. This is a body of work that we all can take pride in. It's relatively remarkable considering what a small community we are. And then I know Councilor Levy likes to see this slide every year. This chart shows us our current open and active development agreements. We currently have 6 of those. 5 of those 6 are completely in compliance. In fact, most of these companies are significantly over their job retention and creation numbers. North Star continues to lag a little bit. They're supposed to be at 165 jobs. They're currently at 107. However, they'll be wrapping up their 3rd edition here this year. And once they start production of the isotopes, I would suggest that within the next year or so, they'll be well ahead of that 165 numbers. So that pretty much wraps up my report in my remarks. I just kind of wanted to close out here just to say, once again, thank you. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be your economic development director. As great as it has been to work for Beloit, it's been wonderful to live here and to raise a family. Great place to raise a family, send your kids to school. We hopefully have given back to our community. My family, I hope, has valued what the value of being involved and being a part of the community. There's a photo of my son Michael being Scoopy, making some new friends, and Michael being Snappy with Maggie at a Snappers game. And I showed you this chart before. You know, I've been blessed to work with a lot of cool companies, some household names, big companies. But the one company that I followed that I think is, to me, the most remarkable is this little company, a home-based company, MEJ Accounting. It's my wife's company, of course. I'm just very proud of her, what she's been able to do entrepreneurially to start her own company and build it into, a pretty significant going business affair. And again, very proud of what she's done as an entrepreneur. Some folks have asked, what are my plans now that I'm going to retire? Well, I'm hoping when the pandemic is over, I can spend some more time with my 4 older brothers. I'd like to do a little bit more traveling within the region. And of course, I hope to spend a little more time with my son, Kason, and his family, to continue to follow his career over in Galena and spend more time with him. So thank you again. That does conclude my remarks. And I'm not sure if you have any questions, but if you do, I'd be happy to try to take those.
Madam President, this is Councilor Levy, if I may speak.
You can go ahead.
Andrew, first of all, I just want to say thank you for your years of service. Coming on to council years ago and asking a bunch of questions on what's going on in the city, where have we been. It's kind of like you knew that stuff like the back of your hands. It's like no matter whenever you ask a question, you had the answer as far as economic development, where we're at, what's growing, what's on the horizon. And I know that took a lot of time and effort and getting to know the city. There was never a dull moment. Like I said, for someone to be that knowledgeable of everything that's going on when it was happening, where we are in the process, and then remembering from year to year, as you just said, this is what Council Levy likes to hear on these side presentations. I think that's huge that throughout the many councils that you were able to work alongside of, you always had that knowledge of what did each one of the particular councilors like to see in a presentation, and you made sure that you covered that. And I greatly honored that and appreciated that. And then I do really appreciate your knowledge and even coming on asking questions about what's going on in the city and getting to know my role as a counselor. You helped me a lot in that way too. And I just want to say congratulations on your retirement. I don't know if this is something that we would vote on, because then we get all voted down, and then that just means he can't go, right? So, but no, just watching through the years and seeing how Beloit has grown with a lot of companies coming here, I'm going to encourage you to do one thing and stop continuing to say, well, I didn't do this or I didn't do that. Other people did it, but someone had to drive the ball to the other people to get them to get into the arena and fight. So yeah, you did take the lead on a lot of these things, and if it wasn't for you, a lot of things that that we have in Beloit probably would not be here. No, you may not have fought the fight yourself, but you brought the leads in and took the ball and ran with it. And I, for one, am grateful for that and wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Levy. And since Councilor Levy gave closing remarks, why don't we just go down the list and start with Vice President Anderson? Did you have any words for Andrew?
Yes, Madam President. Councilor Levy said a lot of things I think we're all going to say. Andrew, I just really appreciate you going through the history of Beloit and how things have changed. I think a lot of our residents forget what Beloit used to look like before you started to make your mark on this community. And you've definitely transformed Beloit. And I know you don't like to take credit for a lot of things, but there's a common denominator here, what Beloit used to look like before you got here and what it looks like now. So hats off to you. We really appreciate everything you've done over the many years of service to the city. Feel free to come back and present as a guest presenter next year. We'd like to see you once in a while. And best of luck, and I hope you enjoy retirement. I know that's a big step in life, but you definitely deserve a little bit of time off. So congratulations again, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. Councilor Blakely.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for all you've done for the city of Beloit over the years. I loved your presentation this evening. Now that is a masterwork in and of itself. I hope that it'll be preserved in the city archives. Lori Luther, City Manager Luther, is nodding her head. It really deserves to be, because it outlines not only, there we have it, the efforts of a single man working hard for the city, but a single man who pitched in with others and got so many people from different parts of the city, from the business community out there. You brought them all together, and it has resulted in Beloit being a much improved city, not only in surface appearance, but in a strong business monetary sense. I wish you all the best, being able to spend more time with your family, and congratulations and thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Blakely. Councilor Forbeck. Councilor Forbeck. Okay, Councilor Key. Councilor Forbeck, did she come back on?
I did. I'm sorry. I just had to tell you, Andrew, you're too young to retire. So, thank you, Andrew. I was lucky enough to be with Andrew that very first year he came. I was busy doing Riverfest, and he was young and enthusiastic and has been organized and passionate for us all these years. So, thanks, Andrew.
Councilor Keys. Councilor Keys.
Sorry.
Okay.
So My comments are brief, as my time working with Andrew has been shorter, and it's been much over a distance or virtual platform. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to help orient me into council and provide all the information that you're able to provide for a successful start to me serving. And thank you for the presentation and all your years of service to the city. I'm excited to hear about how all the fun things that you partaken in retirement. So enjoy and thank you.
Thank you.
We heard from Councilor Levy, so now we'll go to Councilor Pressure.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for that presentation. I always enjoy them, and you know that. And I remember what Beloit was like, and I remember the struggles getting it going, and not knowing what plan was going to work, but you were willing and always to modify, always to adapt, always to not put all your eggs in one basket or one idea. And sometimes your patience was just remarkable. I'm amazed at it. And I can't let this go by. I was asked to look through from our archives for photos of you over the years, and I think I found two. Oh, you're a behind the scenes kind of guy. I got a lot of your backside. I wasn't going to share those, and I got a couple. When you weren't really part of it. It was amazing that you've done so much and been at so many things. I know you've been there because I was there, and I have almost no pictures to show for it. I mean, we're talking 19 years of photo archives, and it's just amazing that you've done so much, and you're the consummate guy who's acting, and you're like the guy behind the curtain, and nobody really knows what's going on until they talk to you. And that's one of the things I will miss, And I also have to say we share the same second favorite city. The only other city I spend any amount of time at is Galena, and I have for about 35 years. So I understand your son's over there, and you've got a great opportunity there. So anyway, I will close by saying thank you for a great report. I expect to get a copy in email so I can share it with people in social media, etc. And I will point out that maybe in a year or two, there might be an opening in the council you could run for. So I'll just keep that in the back of your mind there, guy.
Well, I will be involved in the community. I don't know if I have that much ambition, but we will be involved in the community in the future for certain. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Councilor Prushill. And Andrew, I would just like to echo everyone else's sentiments. And I know you, and I know Maggie, and your amazing family. And I just want to thank you for what you've done for Beloit. And I also want to just say, just great job with this presentation tonight, and for helping our city to move forward in a positive direction. And my last sentence to you is, you will truly be missed, but you will never be forgotten in Beloit. So I want you to know that. So, job well done. Thank you so much for your presentation tonight. Next, we'll go on to item 12C.
12C, the city council may adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub E.
Okay. You kind of broke up a little bit, Clerk Stotler. So I'm believing what we're going to do is go into closed session. Is it okay if I go ahead and move forward with the motion?
Yeah.
I move we go to closed session.
Okay, so we got a motion by Councilor Levy. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilor Prushill. At this time, there's a motion and a second to go into closed session. Any discussion? I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Hopefully this works. Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely.
Aye.
Councilor Forbeck.
She did fall off the call. That was part of the issue we had.
Oh, okay. Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
We are in closed session at 8:33 p.m.
Okay, thank you. We are now in open session. May I please have a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Beloit Police?
I move approval of the collective bargaining agreement with the Beloit Police Department.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilor Levy, a second by Councilor Prushel. Is there any further discussion? I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely. Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely, can I confirm with you your vote?
Yes, that was an
Thank-
aye. Can
thank
you
you.
hear me, Lori?
Yes. That passes unanimously, which leads us to item 13, which is adjournment.
Just a moment, we have one more action item if I can, Madam Clerk.
Oh, sure, go ahead, sorry.
May I please have a motion to approve the repurchase agreement? Is there a motion?
Madam President, this is Attorney Krieger. Could I just clarify exactly what we're doing here in open session, since that wasn't done on the public record?
Yes, you can go ahead and clarify if you would.
Just as a brief presentation for the public record, in 2012, the city transferred to the CDA 3 parking lots in the downtown area in order to have the funding necessary to rehabilitate those parking lots. As part of the lease agreement where the city leased from the CDA those parking lots, there was a repurchase agreement within that indicated that once the lease revenue bonds have been paid off, that the property then could be repurchased by the city from the CDA. At this time, what we're asking is that the city exercise that right to repurchase those 3 parking lots, and they come back within the assets of the city of Beloit. Earlier this evening at a meeting by the CDA also authorized the transfer of those properties back to the city, so this would be the companion piece for the city council to do the same. There is a resolution before you to approve the conveyance of those 3 parking lots from the CDA back to the city council.
Move approval.
Just a moment, I just wanted to back up because in the beginning of the meeting, I don't know if the public saw it, but we approved the collective bargaining agreement with the Beloit Police Supervisors Association. And now at this point, which is what Attorney Kruger explained, is now we have a motion to approve the repurchase of the agreement. So is there a motion? I believe it was Councilor Levy.
Correct.
And was there a second?
Second that motion.
Second by Councilor Preschel. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, at this time, I will ask the clerk, thank you. At this time, I ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Blakely.
Aye.
Councilor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councilor Keys.
Aye.
Councilor Levy.
Aye.
Councilor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That does pass unanimously.
Now we will go for adjournment. May I please have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Councilor Levy. Is there a second?
Second, Councilor Keys.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We are now adjourned, and this ends our council meeting for this evening.
Okay, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Have a great
Merry
holiday.
Christmas,
Christmas.
everybody.
Take care.
Happy New Year.
Be safe. Good night.